Hey, welcome everybody. Thanks for coming by. We're going to have another exciting time here of painting some beautiful flowers, some gorgeous gold colored flowers, a gorgeous vase we have here, a coffee cup on a round table. This is the finished painting, so we're going to do this. We're going to simplify, and that's one of the key goals here we're going to have as we work together to do this painting, and that's to simplify this scene. And we have our photograph on our phone that we're going to set up in the picture frame, so you will see this. You know, I know many of you request seeing the picture at the same time. I'm working on that. So we're going to use our phone here, and we're going to have this set up right next to us on our table as we work, and we're going to create this gorgeous painting. You're going to be able to do this because we're just going to take our time and go over each step of the way. So there's no worries about can I do it? Is it too difficult? Or all the steps being covered here? I cover every step of the way. One of the things that I really hope I can always convey to you is watercolor painting is a step-by-step process. So if we're just doing the methods and the techniques and the process the same way every time, for the most part, yes, some paintings require different methods and different techniques you have to use, but for the most part we kind of stick to the same methods and techniques as we do our watercolors. So the subject matter might change. We might be doing flowers this week, but next week we might be doing boats. So, but the thing is, if you keep watching every week, you'll start to see the same patterns over and over, the same techniques, the same methods. We're using the same palettes, the same brushes. You'll get used to all those things, and then it'll be just second nature to have those things just really committed to memory, and then you can just focus more on what you like to do, your paintings, your art, the design of things, having fun with all of the different things that watercolor offer, with mixing colors and washes, and having a fun time just being creative with the actual medium, which is probably the greatest medium, watercolor, because you have so much fun with the washes, mixing the colors. You can mix unlimited amounts of colors and washes just at a simple mixing in your paint box. So let's get started in just a second. And again, thanks so much for coming by. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for your great comments. And I just appreciate everyone coming by and joining along here. And please, again, leave comments if you want in the comments section. Any questions, comments. And again, I always appreciate everyone's encouragement. It keeps me going, keeps me excited about coming back week after week here on YouTube to create these wonderful paintings and tutorials, and you all have a great time. So we'll be right back and we'll get started. Thanks. Okay, we've just seen the finished painting, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for coming by again. And we're going to start out here in the beginning of this video. I'm just going to prep my work table here. So I just loaded up some fresh paint into my miniature palette here. And we have our acetate plastic, so we're going to use that today. We're going to set up our phone here. Let's see what we have. Let me turn my phone on vibrate, and let me go to settings. So I'm going to set up my phone so that my phone doesn't go dim. So this is an important thing if you're working with your phone, or let's say even computers. Really, your computers usually don't have any kind of shut-off mechanism, but for phones, I'll just go through this quick with my phone here. I have an iPhone. You go to settings, and you go under display and brightness setting. And what I do is my phone is always set to lock in 5 minutes so that it saves on battery. So the screen goes dark after 5 minutes automatically, and then I have to log into my phone again each time. So when I'm doing work here and I want to do some artwork from my phone, I just simply I go to auto lock and then put it on never, and then never means that the phone will never shut off. So my photograph that I take online, or if I do a screen capture of my photo, it'll stay on. The screen won't shut off on me while I'm working, so I can just have a nice pleasant time, not worrying about unlocking my phone all the time. So we have that set up, and then I'm going to go to the picture. So this is the picture I have. So we're going to leave that like so. So this is going to be our picture we're going to work from. A gorgeous some flowers here on a table in a nice clear vase, glass vase. What we'll do is we'll simplify this. We're going to create a gorgeous, beautiful painting, flowers, in this vase on a table, and we're going to we're going to go through it step by step, and we'll kind of see how we can simplify it. If we were to sit here and try to go into every little detail of this painting, it would become too difficult. So if I zoom in here, you can kind of see there's a lot of details in there in this type of painting. But we can simplify this, really simplify it beautifully, and that's going to be the goal. Simplifying a very, let's say, very complicated floral arrangement. We're gonna simplify it and make it easier to paint and create for our watercolor painting, and we'll describe how we're going to do that as we go along. So the first thing, I'm going to leave my phone on my art table so everyone can see that as we're working. So what I'll do is I'll just make sure I cover it with some acetate. So I'm going to use some acetate here. I'll clean off from one of our other lessons we just were doing, one of our other videos we had. So I'm just going to, I just took some nail polish remover, or this is Goof Off Pro Strength Remover. I got this at the hardware store, and all I do is wipe it down quickly, and it comes right off the Sharpie ink. So I just took off my Sharpie ink. So far, does that make sense? We're just getting prepped here. We're making sure our phone is not going to shut off on us, so we don't have to worry about having that issue of the phone going dark and then having to unlock it, and with our password and all that kind of stuff. And then we're just using our piece of acetate we have, plastic, that we've been using on some of our recent videos. We clean that off with a little bit of nail polish remover or some, Pro Strength remover that we find in the hardware store for taking off glues and different things like that off of items and things. And then we'll take this and we'll just set that on top of the phone so that we don't have a mess all over the top of our phone. And then we'll set this up somewhere, somehow. I have a small sponge. You can use this to check water off your brush as you go, or I'm going to use it to put underneath my palette here. And then let's think about setting up everything right now. So we have a nice comfortable working table here. So let's set the camera up. This is going to go over here. I'm going to try to zoom in a little bit at a time. That might be good. So we'll have the painting in the center, palette on the left, and our photo on the right. And that should be fine. Okay, perfect. I know many of you have commented that you'd like to see the photos of the paintings as we do them. I'll try to do this more often when I think I can do it, or it kind of makes sense to. This we can do. And next thing we will do is we'll take some tape, and I'll tape down my palette so it doesn't move around. So I usually use some good quality masking tape, Scotch brand masking tape. And I'll probably tape that down there. And one more piece of tape over here. And this just keeps the palette from moving around. That can be kind of annoying if you're watching the video and everything is moving around. So I always try to keep everything super still so it doesn't distract anybody. And maybe one more piece over here on the left. And we'll put another. That's pretty good. Yeah, that should be fine. And what else do we need to do? We need to tape our paper down. So I'll take some white artist tape. And for this painting, I'm not going to do a complete tape around the whole perimeter of the paper. You'll see me do that most often. I do tape the whole perimeter usually of my paintings, but just taping down the corners is fine too as well, just so that it doesn't move around. I would definitely add tape around all four sides if you're doing like a wet and wet method where you're using a lot of water, or the glazing technique. We're going to do alla prima painting here, so the technique we're going to use is alla prima. So we're not using the glazing technique, which is usually a lot more water, so we're using a lot less water for this, if that makes sense. And so we just need a little bit of tape to keep this still as we work. And so our tape is good. We will set up further with our pencil. Let's get ourselves a pencil here. Okay, so we have a number 9 retractable pencil. And we're going to be pretty much ready to go. So palette's ready. We might add a little bit of spritz of water onto our paints, and even if we wanted to, we can take a small piece of paper towel and take a small piece of paper towel and fold it up into a square, dip it into our water bucket with clean water. We always have clean water as we're working, and we could take that paper towel and put it over the top just to keep those paints moist while we're doing our pencil drawing, because paints do dry out actually even while we're just sitting here pencil drawing and setting up our table. The paints will kind of get a little bit dry, so we don't want that. We want to make sure this is our paints stay nice and moist. The only problem sometimes you have is, you know, it sometimes lifts up a little bit of paint, but that's not a big deal. And okay, so we'll just dry off that water spot there. So we're ready to start drawing. So we're going to take this and make it more of a simplified drawing and painting. So the first thing I'll do is look at this and say, you know, we're going to use this exact picture here to do our layout, our design. So the design is going to be that if we take our pencil, now this is the thing we're going to do. The very first thing we do when we're going to do something like a floral arrangement like this with a vase and flowers is we're going to say where do we want this on our rectangle, so the first thing we'll do is let's get if we have nothing but white paper, sometimes we need a little bit of a border around it, so we draw our border on there. Let's do that. Let's draw our border on our paper, so we have that. And let's start to look at it and say, well, we want to do the exact same. I cropped this down from a picture I had online, so I trimmed down the other things. There was some ads on top of this, and there were some ads below this. So I, you know, used my iPhone to do a little bit of cropping. So I just cropped down the photo so it's more organized and it looks better and it's nice and neat, exactly the way we want to put it onto our paper, to our rectangle. And so this is what we're going to want to do, exact. So everything is right where it needs to be. Sometimes you might have a photo, or you might be working outdoors or indoors and you're painting something. Then you have to make a decision. But here the decision's all set for us. We have the photo. It's just the way we want it to appear in our rectangle. Does that make sense? So we're just going to look at that and say, okay, let's transfer that same layout and design right onto our paper. So we look here and we say, okay, the table here is just a little bit on the bottom of our composition, our rectangle, so we can just take a quick little super light sketch here, just like this, and it doesn't have to be exactly like we see it. Let's just get the curve of the table. That looks fine. I think I'm not going to have that chair in there. There's a chair. This is where, does everyone remember, I've said this a number of times, and I always mention this, when we're doing paintings and we're working from photographs or anything, not just photographs, outdoors, whatever subject matter you're working from, always remember it's a great thing to just, you know, think about it and say, as you're going along and starting to get your drawing in, do I want to leave some things out, or do I want to maybe add some things in to make it look better, or can I remove some things out of there to make it less complicated, or you know, so that's you're the artist. You decide on those things as you work on your composition, as you're getting your drawing going. So that's only up to you. You might want more things in your painting than I do. So that's, each person's different. As artists, we're all different. You might like more busy artwork where you want a lot of things, much more things in your painting, let's say, or maybe you like things very minimal. You don't want a lot of distractions in your painting. You might just want a few things, a few areas of interest, and then you don't want to have a lot of complicated things going on otherwise. So that's fine. Just, wanted to mention that, so you have the option to do add or subtract from what you're doing. So here I'm going to start my vase, which is right down here, right hand corner of the painting, right about there. So we just kind of notice that there's a curve at the bottom of the vase. And again, this is just a quick light sketch. We're not doing the finished drawing right now. Now we look at this and say how high in the picture frame, if we're going to say this is the picture frame, if this is halfway up on our picture frame here, our rectangle, halfway is about approximately the start of the flowers. And that looks about right. So if this is the halfway point, this is about where we start getting our flowers started. So I'm just going to do a silhouette and some other, and we notice these are up here. You can do this very loosely. And we just notice where these are. This here goes way across the painting like that, so we can kind of see that's really pretty far away from the vase. Looks good. Let's see, we have some flowers there. So all I'm doing right now is just getting what the overall basic design of this is and the outline of the silhouette of our flower arrangement here. And I'm hoping that you can see. Let me see if I turn down the lights a touch. Maybe I can zoom in a little more. Okay, I'm hoping you can see that. It's very light. If I turn them up, it's harder to see them. If I turn the lights, dim them down, it's a little easier to see. So I'll leave these dim right now. The lights, once we start painting, we'll probably need more light for the paint so that you can see all the colors and everything, but right now this looks good. So we just do that very light sketch. Again, the outline of the flowers, silhouette. We silhouette the flowers. We kind of, get those branches that go on out in those leaf forms, just to make sure and I think we have, it could be a little bit more over here. It's kind of extending out, the flowers extend out quite a ways. So I'm making sure I'm extending this out, the flowers over here to the left. And I think that is looking good. All right, now let's take a break. But you can see that what we've done here is we've just simply transferred over with a very light, super light silhouette of where our composition is going to be of our flowers and our stems and our vase and our table. And I think I'll do the cup here too as well. There's a coffee cup here. Let's make that. So I'm going to look and see where that is. Well, the coffee cup is a little bit above this table line. So we'll put that here. And we'll just do that just to get that. And then we have the saucer over here. Okay, we have that there. And that's pretty good. I don't think I'm going to do the book here. There's a book on the table. I think I'll just let that go for now. And we'll keep it simple. So the table, the vase, we have the flowers. We're going to do more detail on the flowers once we do the contour drawing. So we'll do the contour drawing next. And hey, I'm really excited because we've got pretty much everything's all set up for us to now go in and do our final contour drawing, where we're just going to kind of really get the more of the details of the flower arrangement. But again, we're not going to go too tremendously detailed, because you can see there's so much there. We don't want to get, you know, bogged down with all those tremendous details. We just want to keep it light and fresh looking, our painting. So let's do that. Let's make sure our goal is to keep the painting light and fresh. You don't want to spend hours of time drawing this. You want to spend, just like we did here, about 10 minutes to get the overall outlying areas of the flowers and some of the stems going out and branches going out and leaves and flower forms. Approximate locations. You get your vase in, your table, which was, you know, looking at the painting, we noticed the table is a round table and it goes around, and it just kind of starts over here at the bottom, rounds up over here a little ways up, maybe not quite of a quarter of a way up the page or the paper, the frame, our rectangle. Halfway, we said, on our painting was the top of the vase, and we have that. So we're really in good shape. All right, so we're going to come back in just a few minutes, and I always mention, please subscribe. It's a great way to keep up to date on all of our watercolor paintings that we do here on our channel. We're constantly doing new kinds of subject matter. We do fun technique style videos. We do you know, informational type videos, and then we do your standard. Mostly every week we're doing at least either, you know, a landscape, a seascape, a boat painting. Flowers we're doing right now. We do flowers all the time. We do landscapes. Again, we do figure painting. So we do everything watercolor, and we do all subject matter, so you can kind of get a feel for all those styles of subject matter that you might want to try. And whatever you feel is comfortable, you can start maybe working on one or two styles of subject matter. But the main thing is, if you subscribe, you'll get the videos. I'm excited. I want you to get those videos every week so you can watch along with us here and join along, and you'll see how we use our paints and we see how we do our design, our drawings. So no matter what subject matter you like to do, just watching the video, even if you might not like, let's say, doing flowers, if you watch the video, even though you're not, you know, maybe you don't like to paint flowers too much, no problem, but you'll still learn all about the colors, how we're working our brushes, our tools, our pencils. You'll learn all of those things. So please subscribe, don't forget, and we'll see you in just a second. We'll come right back and we'll do our contour drawing, which is the final drawing on this watercolor paper as we go. And this is Fabriano paper, Artistico, Fabriano Artistico paper. It's extra white, and it's rough paper. So it's the rough paper. There's a smooth and a rough, and this is the rough paper, Artistico rough paper. Okay, so we'll be right back. Okay, so we're back again, and we're going to do our contour drawing. So this is, again, just getting started back up again. You know, we're doing our contour drawing. That's our final drawing. We, again, did our preliminary sketch, which is basically a silhouette around our subject matter, just to get it where we want it on our picture. And this is a great habit to get yourself into. Always try to do your preliminary sketch first, very, very lightly, barely touching the paper. And the reason I say that is because if you have this locked in and you do this all the time and it becomes just a part of your routine, you're much less likely to have a problem with your design when you're doing your paintings. Because if you can kind of lay out everything right where you want it in the beginning, and then let's say we didn't make something exactly where we wanted it, it's very simple to take an eraser right now and just gently lift up some spots here and there where we need to relocate something or move something. Does that make sense? Versus if you just go in and do a dark pencil drawing and you skip this step, and if something is not where you need it, once you're done and you step back and look at it and go, oh, I should have moved this over this way or that way, or over here or over there, that can be an issue, because then you're going to start erasing dark lines on your paper, and that might not look so pleasant and pleasing before you're starting to do your painting. So that's why I always encourage all of you just to get that really super light preliminary sketch going in your, it doesn't have to be detailed whatsoever, just a light outline of where things are going to approximately go. And then if you do see something that needs to change, you can just leave this here on the paper, that super light sketch, because no one's ever going to see it once you paint over it. And then you can just adjust your contour drawing, which is we're going to do now our final contour drawing over the top, that you can go in darker, and you're going to see it's going to be a much darker line that we're going to do now as we draw this. And there'll be no problem. You can just leave this as your starting point, and then if you have to move something, you go, oh, okay, I have to move the vase over about an inch. No big deal. I can just leave this vase right here, just the way it is, and draw my vase over here and start it over here, and that's not a problem. So let's get started. I think everything is, though, right where we want to have it, so everything does look good. I'll turn up the lights a little more here, and there we go. So I'm going to start right here at the top of the vase. And now what I'm going to do is keep looking back and forth at my photo on my phone as I'm drawing this. So it's basically my eyes are bouncing back and forth like, you know, just here I'm looking, then I'm looking over here. And I'm just constantly, the whole time as I'm going to be drawing this contour drawing, is you just start in one place and you just start your drawing there, and you're constantly referring back to your subject matter. Doesn't matter, this could be a boat, it could be a seascape, landscape, could be some figures, whatever it is, could be anything. It's flowers now, and I'm just going to keep doing that, looking back and forth. So I'm going to start right here, and again, it's not perfection. You're not looking to do this perfectly when you're contour drawing and looking at, you're going to have a little bit of, some abstract feeling to it, but that's okay. As long as most of it's looking pretty accurate, you're never going to have a problem. So I'm just going to start out here, and I'm going to start doing those leaf forms at the bottom of the painting, and of course when there's details packed in here like this in this drawing, you don't have to get too concerned. You're just going to get some shapes going. Here I'm going to make sure I have this. I'm just going to get some of those points, those radiating fine petals of that flower going out like so, and there's a round form in the center there, and then there's another flower over here. And I'm going to continue to move through this as I go. Flower there's another flower here, and again I'm moving pretty good here. I'm moving at a good pace. That's one of the things with contour drawing, is it kind of forces you to kind of move at a good pace. You're not going to want to be sitting here and erasing and drawing a flower and suffering over each flower and, oh, does that look too big, too small? No. Contour drawing, is the beauty of it is you're just capturing the general essence of what is here that we're looking at, and I'm just constantly looking back and forth as we go, so that we're just kind of making sure that overall we're going in a good tempo. We want to have a good tempo here as we go, like in music, a good tempo. There we go. Okay, now we've gone this out that way. Now we're going to stick back here in the center. There's the one form here. There's another radiating form here, the flower here. So we're going to do that. And we'll make this one a little smaller. Like that. Here, again, more just and again, you can imagine that we're going to do some brush work over here. You can almost take your pencil and start using it like a brush and say, okay, now we're going to choke up. We're going to actually move our hand up on the top of the pencil, and just maybe we'll use the brush in the same fashion, but you can use your pencil in that same fashion too, just to get those really nice loose twigs and branch forms without being too getting too fussy about it. And then So I'm just going to start. And again, there's some more darker leaf forms here, small, large form. And I'm trying to just get those somewhat close in shapes. And this here. And these go off the page, like so. And there's some flowers there. And again, when we start painting this, this is a good time just to mention this. When we start painting this, you can be painting in a lot of details and a lot of things too. So you don't necessarily have to draw everything, because once we start painting this, we're going to do that same process where we're going to keep looking back and forth as we paint to our photograph here. And then we'll have a good feel as we go. We'll just keep working the painting as we're looking back and forth, and you can paint in a lot of the details here as we go. So I think we have a good amount of detail here. Let's start working down into the vase here. And so we're going to do that. And that's a glass vase. So we do see the okay, so we have the vase there. And let's do the coffee cup. Go. That looks good. And what else do we have here? Maybe we have some of those drapes in the back, so we could just put a few lines just to remember. So when we're painting, we can have maybe some feeling of some drapery behind this here. That should be fine. And again, if you see something that doesn't look exactly the way you want it, now's a good time. We step back. This is a perfect time for a break too, so let's take a quick break. I see some things I do want to change before we start the painting, so let's do that. Let's take a quick break, 5-10 minutes, then we'll come back. We'll look at what we want to change. I'm going to show you what I think could use a little bit of just a tiny bit of we're going to just erase a few things and redo a few spots. I think we need to do that, but I'll show you that in just a second, so we'll be right back. Okay. Okay, yes, let's get started once again here. Let's get started, and we're going to kind of cover here a few changes we want to make to our contour drawing. So we're just starting back up again and we took a break. Now we're just going to erase a few things. So I see over here in the paint, in this photograph of these flowers, this over here, this stem is not quite as far out as I drew this, so I want to make this a little shorter than what we have here. So now's a good time. I'm going to just do that. And I also wanted to make it more on a curve. So I made it too straight. I want to curve that line a little bit. So we have some flowers over here that we have in the drawing here. And then here we can just go back in again and do some of those green leaf forms. But I just want to make sure I kind of curve that a little bit. And like that. And that's about good. Before I had it in a straight line. So now I'm doing more true to what the photograph shows. So don't be afraid if you draw something and you need to do it over. Not a big deal. You take your eraser and you just do a quick erase, and we could do that and have a little bit of a, it looks a little better. It's got a little more of a curve to it. And again, I always mention this too. You've probably heard me say this a million times, but I will mention it again too. When you're doing your contour drawings and drawings in general, and your preliminary drawings, when you're just doing pencil drawings like this, a lot of times they don't look like really that, let's say, good. Sometimes they look awkward looking. They look like there's more problems in them, let's say with angles or with curves or lines, or sometimes the scale of things, large and small. Always remember, as long as it's somewhat close to what your photograph is, you're going to find that when you start working on your painting, it's going to look so much better. I just noticed that over the years, drawing a long time now, that it's easy to be critical of your pencil drawing, and it's easy to start getting worried and start erasing things on your pencil drawing when it's really kind of like an illusion. That's the best way I can describe it, is sometimes when you have pencil drawings on your watercolor paper before you start your painting, it seems like sometimes there feels like there's an illusion going on, that there's a lot of issues with things not looking correct, whatever. I would say fight against that and don't give into it and start changing things left and right. You did see me change one thing here, but that's about it. Maybe two, the coffee cup here. Maybe I could make that line a little better. It looks like it's sort of tipping, so maybe I could do this. I could straighten that line out a little bit like that. But a couple things like that, and that's really all you want to do. And then the rest you can just start painting in, getting your painting down onto your paper, and you can always adjust things too as you paint. So you can correct things as you paint. This pencil drawing is really not going to be visible once you're done painting. So that's just a quick tidbit of information I find will be helpful for you. So now we're going to paint and start. Going to use a smaller brush. I think I might use to start with, maybe I'll use my number 4 Da Vinci travel brush. Fresh, clean water. I always use tissues here to dry off a little bit of the water, or sometimes my apron, whatever I have. Sponge sometimes I use as well. So now we're going to just go right in here, and we're going to start with, we need our greens, dark greens. So let's sap green. We can add in some burnt sienna to that, some burnt umber, a little bit of French ultramarine blue for the darkest dark of the greens, maybe a little bit of purple over here, viridian green. So I think this is a good start for our mixes, and we're going to start making some darks in here because there is a lot of dark shadowing. And I will say too, let's avoid painting everything solid in the arrangement. Let's leave white paper all throughout this floral arrangement here. So you'll see as I go, I'm going to leave white paper in quite a few spots to avoid it having just being too with too much paint and not enough of some areas where you can see through the vase and see through the arrangement. So let's do this here. We have some lighter greens, and I'm going to try to work in some of these too. Some lighter greens, and you can change your you can absolutely add more colors that you think you would like to add to your painting, or you can make it more simple. I'm seeing cobalt blue, cerulean blue for the vase, purple. So already I'm starting to think about the vase color too. Let's kind of work that in there. And there's lots of greens. And again, I'm going to have fun with this, and I'm not going to get too worried about everything at one time. Just lots of yellow flowers here. And then there's raw sienna, raw umber, And we could use this and splash a little. And then I can just do some of these nice, quick. Let's leave this abstract a little bit. You can always add more color later, you know. If you go less in the beginning, some splashes. And let's do the other raw umber, cadmium lemon yellow. And then there, I'm going to be doing the same thing here. Trying to keep it kind of abstracty a little bit, not too much, with too many details. And there's lots of darks in here. Or on this side. Notice I'm leaving white paper all through here. I'm not filling this all in. Again, that's where it's just a matter of keeping that in the back of your mind. Try not to fill all the areas in. Leave some white paper here and there. Is that making sense? You can see how I'm leaving white paper here and there. A couple of splashes again here and there. And again, I can make some darker greens with French ultramarine blue, sap green, and a little bit of that burnt sienna, a little more sap green. And that should be good. And then as this dries, we can go back in and do some touch-ups. And you'll see we'll start to add the real fine details as we we'll add finer details as this dries. We can't do everything at one time. I mean, this is alla prima, yes, we're doing this painting all at one time, but you will still need to go back in and do some touch-ups or some additions to the painting as you go. So that's about good there. And we can always all right, now this is a perfect time to take a break. We've done a lot of concentration here, and that's where, again, we have to take breaks, and let's let this dry a little bit. Some sections are already dry where you can go back in and do a little touch-ups here and there. And again, we're going to leave this abstract. We're not going to go and try to suffer over every detail of this. We're just getting the overall idea of what we're seeing over here on the right-hand side in our photograph, and then putting our own spin on it, as you might think of it that way. You're kind of, yes, you're working from this photograph, but you want to work it so that it's easier for you to create your art, your painting. You don't want to sort of have this controlling you. You want to control the way you're thinking about your subject matter and saying, you know what, yes, this is a very technical, difficult floral arrangement here, and there's a lot of details in there, but as an artist, does this make sense? You want to think of it as, well, how can I adjust my painting to make it easier for myself to capture the feel of this without getting overly obsessed with every little critical detail? And that's the key of the painting on this type of painting, is doing that. So you can see we're going very light, very abstract, We do have some time. Once this all dries, we can go back in and add a little more finer detail. You'll see how we'll do that in just a few minutes. But right now, let's let this dry a little bit, and then we'll continue on. It's a good time to, take a break every 10, 15 minutes, just because it's a complex flower arrangement. It's not an easy painting to do, but if we take our time and we take breaks, we'll be fine. And I always mention too, please, subscribe. The subscribe button down there on the right-hand side of this, right below the screen here. If you subscribe, you'll be here every week with us. We're creating new paintings just like this every week. Today it might be flowers. Next week we might do boats. The week after that we might do mountain scenes with trees and cabins. Then we might do some figures the week after that. So we're always doing exciting things in watercolor. I want you to join along with us all here. We're having a great time, and keep with us. Keep learning, keep growing, and you're going to have a fun time at this. So we'll see you in just a few seconds. We're going to let this dry a little bit and take a quick break and just relax for a few minutes. All right, we're back again, and we're starting back on our painting. This is really dry right now. I mean, it's not 100% dry, but it's like 90% dry, which is great. We can start adding in some details if we want to, but I don't think we're going to do that, actually. We're going to keep working on out and get mostly everything in. So if you can imagine another concept here. So you probably, again, if you're with me a long time, and by the way, thank you for everyone that that you're with me many years now. I see you in the comments section a lot of times. Some of you I don't see anymore in the comments section. I'm hoping you're still watching out there. Some of my favorite friends out there that I know were with me for many years when I first started. But I just always want to thank you, everyone, for coming by all the time and painting along with me here, and sharing our paintings and our artwork. We're all growing together, getting better and better each year. We go as time goes on. Each year we're getting better and better. We're practicing all the time. I'm hoping that everyone is practicing, at least watching the videos every week, and then painting the paintings you like or you think you want to do. So I think if you're doing that, you're going to make a lot of progress, I think, over time. And if you can put in extra time, that's even better yet. You practice as much as you can, as much as time allows. I know many of you are very busy. You have a lot of stuff going on. You can't put in 4 hours or 6 hours a day, or maybe some of you can only do an hour a week, or even a half an hour a week is all you can do. But that's fine. Any kind of time you can put in, try to just keep it like a habit. Like maybe just pick a time when you kind of know you can always maybe paint or draw or paint for like a half an hour once a week, and if you can just do it that same time every week, that'll become a habit, and you'll always be looking to grab your paints and your pencils and your paper that same time all the time, because it's just like a habit. You just get into the habit of, oh yeah, every Saturday in the evening at 10 o'clock p.m. I'm picking up my pencil and my paper and my paints, and I'm working like an hour. Or it might be a Sunday night or a Sunday morning, or maybe during the week, in the middle of the week. So if you kind of just get like that one day, if you can get in that like half an hour, you'll be really just, you'll progress a lot is what I'm saying. But it is like that kind of a thing where if you do it all the time as a habit, it'll just stick, and then you'll just always do it. So this kind of forces me to always paint and do these compositions and create these videos. It forces me to always be on my toes and doing these constantly, and then I also have to practice on my own other times during the week to get my other practice studies in that I do on my own. But I'm always making sure I'm doing this too, so that we can all paint together, we can all get better together. And I'm again excited. I know all of you out there are getting better all the time, and just the more time you can put in is just all the better. Just always remember that. It's no magical process to it. It's just each minute, each hour you put in is an hour better you're going to be, or a minute better you're going to be. Even if it's 5 minutes, you can do a little pencil sketch for 5 minutes every day. You're going to be 5 minutes better each time you pick up that pencil and do a little drawing or a little sketch. So let's keep going here. And we're going to continue on. We're now working out from the middle. So this is a great place to start your floral arrangements when you're creating your flower paintings. You start out in the center. You get in your darks and your lights and your beautiful yellow colors in there. You get your darks. You start from the center, same as we did with our contour drawing. So it kind of just, you imagine, you'll use your same technique that you use for contour drawing. for your painting. You'll start in the areas in the center where there's probably a lot of details, and then you just keep working from that outwards. And now we're doing the same thing as we paint. We're starting from the center and working our way out. And let's continue on here. So instead of getting, let's clean up the palette just a little bit. I like to keep the palette maybe just this one section here, I think, because there's a lot of different colors we mixed here. If you didn't mix a lot of colors, you don't have to necessarily clean the palette all the time. But if you mixed a lot of different colors in one area of the palette, it's good to kind of every once in a while clean up that area of the palette, just so you don't have too many different colors mixing and mixing and mixing. It sort of can be counterproductive to keeping a fresh look to your painting. So, but these here are fine. Cerulean blue, cobalt blue. We have our purple, which is ultramarine violet. We have some cadmium lemon yellow over here. We have some yellow ochre and some cadmium lemon yellow there. And we have some green here, some sap green and cadmium lemon yellow there. So these here you don't have to really worry too much because we didn't mix much there. We just added those fresh colors out onto the palette, and they can stay just as they are. And let's continue on here. So we're doing more golden colors of the flowers. And here we just lightly pick up straight paint. Just like that. You know, you don't have to fill it all in like a circle. I wouldn't fill this in like a circle or a sphere. I would just dab on some paint. Just think in your mind flower shapes, okay, flower shapes. Dabs of paint, circular, maybe a little bit of circular motions. There's more flowers over here. Do we have any orangey color? Yes, we do. We have some orangey colors. Let's put that over here. If we add some orange in one spot now, since we see it in the picture, let's add it a few other spots. I guess what I'm saying is harmonize your painting, keep the same colors flowing and moving throughout the composition, throughout the painting. Let's not be making our painting looking lopsided where we don't want to have our painting looking lopsided where you're having one color over on one side and then we don't have it on the other. Then that kind of looks like something went wrong. And again, I'm just going to put some of that orange here and there. We'll do some burnt sienna, burnt umber, so now we're getting some of those darker darks. Some yellow ochre in there too. And then we have some of those darks. And that looks good there. Let's add a few spots of darks there. And then we do some over here. And again, I'm just referring back to my photograph all the time. If you find you go into a spot and it's not reacting the way you want it to, that's a good time just to move away from it. That means something's not mixing correctly on the paper. Don't fight with your watercolors. Be pleasant with your watercolors. Have fun with them. Be pleasant. If something's not working, you can just move to another section. Chances are that will kind of help the issue. If you move to a different section of your painting, if something's not going right with a wash or something, that's better to do that. And so now I'm going to go over here and do some leaf forms while that dries a little bit. And there we go. And don't forget, we're going to use a needlepoint brush to get in some of our fine twigs and stems and things. Go. Perfect. And then if we see we're going with this green color and then we see there's a flower here, a yellow flower, as we're coming up, as we're going up this stem here, and we see, oh wow, there's another flower, but we already have our brush loaded with some greens. Let's just keep working the greens over here. We'll go around the flower for now, and we'll come back and do that later. And maybe just in a few minutes or so, but I guess what I'm saying is if you're already going with the flow here with some greens, and some leaf forms, stick with that. That's helpful to know that you can just think economically instead of rinsing the brush and looking for the yellow, and you know, we can just keep going with this. That looks good. I'm going to get some and do a couple splashes just to make it look good there. Now we go in and get some of our yellow, cadmium lemon yellow. There we go. And then we can add some of our darker darks, like that, in probably more of a circular fashion with some of those. So it's good to, you know, kind of stick with what you see in the picture. And I think that looks fine. Okay, now I think I'm going to do a little bit of work in the vase. So we're going to get some green, sap green. We have some of this dark browns and reds. We got some burnt sienna, burnt umber. We have a little bit of our green, maybe a little bit of French ultramarine blue, a little bit of purple. And maybe we're going to get some of these some shadowy kind of things going on in there. There's some stems and branches in there. And again, now with this area, I would not myself, I get an idea of what I'm seeing here. So I look at this vase and say, all right, I have an idea of what that looks like, but I'm not going to, again, sit there and try to copy every single thing I see in there, because that can really cause me a problem. You know, so I'm thinking, I've done a lot of vases. I've been, practicing a lot with my flower paintings over my years now. I kind of already know when I'm looking at this, I'm saying to myself, I'm going to simplify this. So how am I going to simplify this? Let's get a few things in there to start with that are simple, the simpler parts of that, what's in the vase. And then once we're done with that, we can let it sit, dry. We step back, we take a break, we finish some other section. And then at the end of the painting, we can say, oh yeah, maybe I could add a little more color in there, or a little touch of this or that. But the basic is, if we're going to simplify, which is sort of what we're trying to do here, and what this video is we're kind of, our goal is, let's simplify this. So let's simplify it. I'm going to get, a couple of those stems in there. There's darks, so I, kind of make a mystery of maybe there wasn't a stem over here, but I just put one in. Not a problem. Maybe I could do this. Maybe I can make that little bit of a, I can start getting some darker darks. Then I start making some dashes, dashed lines. I don't want to always fill in every line, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? Instead of filling in every line, let's do a little bit of, darker, lighter, light bouncing around. Maybe some gold in here too. Just to make sure we're getting some of those repeating colors down in the bottom here. And I think that looks all right. And then there is a few something like that. So I just mix around some more colors. It's a little darker up in here, some cobalt blue. And again, we can go back in and work this this section a little more once we're let it dry. Let's let it dry now. That's good enough for now. And then maybe we'll put a little bit of color on this. Okay, that looks good there. Nice, some color on our coffee cup here and saucer. And there's some shadowing under there. Okay. And there's some and maybe there's some color back here. So maybe we'll put some color there. So I just put a little bit of color behind this coffee cup there. There we go. And we could add a little dark under there, like so. And a couple splashes there. Okay. All right, we're having fun here, right? Splashing. So and again, let's keep it light, keep it loose. We are going to go over another wash on this vase here. We've done a lot of work already. Let's keep going though. Let's get some of these more flowers, the flower shapes up here. Cadmium yellow, cadmium lemon yellow. And then we're going to notice that there is quite a bit more of the beautiful yellows here. So let's keep kind of getting these on the paper. And raw sienna. So we're kind of mixing the different yellows to keep things looking interesting, right? We don't want to just go with one yellow. When we make these yellow flowers, let's make them a mixture of cadmium lemon yellow, cadmium lemon yellow, raw sienna. And if we kind of mix up those three different colors, we're going to have a good mixture. That's cadmium lemon yellow. And now as we go through this section up here, we're just trying to get those yellow flowers there. And again, we're not worrying about it. At this point, you can see you have so much done now at this point on your painting that you're not, you don't have to worry too much about. You still want to reference this as you're going, but we have so much interesting flowers and shapes and things going on that you don't have to start worrying and saying, oh, did I miss a flower or two? Or that at this point that's not really too important. You can see I'm just dabbing on some yellow flowers here, flower shapes. It's going to look much more interesting once we get that needlepoint brush in and we start putting some of those shapes with the needlepoint brush. We're going to have a wonderful time doing that. And you can see here just more so there we have some cadmium lemon yellow, some more of the darker tonal values of the darker yellows, cadmium yellow and raw sienna. And you can do that same thing here and there just to give it a little. You can also go in and do a little bit of splashing with some of that yellow just to give it a more light feel, and I think that's pretty good. And again, I can add in a couple yellow blossoms over here on this, even though it's not in the painting. Again, you're in control of your art, you're in control of your painting. When you start going in and doing your painting, again, you might see things and you might say to yourself, I want to have some more yellow blossoms over here on this area. Even though it's not in here on the photograph, you can put it in. That's where you take your liberty as an artist and say, you know what, I want to spice this up a little more or make it a little more interesting. And this is looking good. All right, now what we can do is let's work on this table a little bit. I might just go to a larger brush here. Let me see. I'll go with a Raphael brush here. So now I'm just going to shift up to a number 6 Raphael brush, watercolor brush. I'd like to go with burnt umber, burnt sienna, raw sienna, even some of that yellow. Let's kind of get some of all those colors in the table. And again, I'm not going to I'll go subtle in here with that. Then I'll go darker here, just so by doing that it automatically makes it feel like, and you could even lighten this up, you could take some tissue and lighten that up a little bit like that, just so you see that line going through. That. And I'm just getting some color on there, but I'm not, again, I'm not filling it in. Like, in a sense, I'm not filling in the table completely. I like to leave that light. Again, some darks, burnt umber, burnt sienna, cobalt blue maybe a little bit. A couple highlights of dark. And that's good, I think. Darker shadow under there a little bit. Okay. Now I think the best thing to do now is, before we put in all the stems and the branches with a needlepoint brush. So the next step, let's let this dry. We'll take another break. We're going to let this dry now. We'll use our needlepoint brush to put in our branches. That'll be like the last part of the video, and we'll get those last final details in, some branches and some twigs with some fine detail with our needlepoint brush. But before we do that, we'll get some of our background in. We have these drapes behind here, so let's get just some feeling of some drapes behind here. It doesn't have to be complex to do that. Again, we're simplifying. That's what we're saying here on this video. Hey, let's simplify this painting, this photograph that we're using. Let's simplify it onto our paper with our painting. And that's what we've been doing the whole way through here, is simplifying everything and not getting bogged down with tremendous details and worrying, which leaf is turning this way or that way, or, did I draw every single, branch or twig just the right way. We don't want to do that. We want to just get the overall idea of it, simplify it, keep it abstract. And even with abstract and simplification of a scene like this, it's still going to look great. It's because that's the way kind of artwork is. If you can kind of simplify things and make it more, less is more. That's the great term that everyone uses in artwork. You hear a lot of artists say that, less is more, and it's true. Less is more. If we were to sit here and try to take 8 hours to do this, it wouldn't look good at probably the end of the day. I think it would look much better if we're just trying to get the essence of what we're seeing here. And there's many artists that would paint this a lot more simple, in a more simple fashion than I have done here. But I feel like I've gotten just the right amount of detail in here that it looks good, and it's going to look really, really beautiful when we're done here. So let's take another break. And then when we come back, we're just going to, again, do a few more things to it and into the painting. We're going to do the drapes. We're going to do the stems and the twigs, and maybe a little bit of color on the vase here. We might leave it the way it is now, but I think we will add some color to that vase a little bit. And then other than that, I think we're pretty much completed, and everything's going to look fantastic. And I always mention, too, please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. We're here every week for you. I'm painting every week so we can all grow together. We can learn lots of new things, have fun at the same time, enjoy ourselves, and keep the process of learning going. And if you subscribe, you won't miss anything. You won't miss out on any of our videos, because you'll be alerted every week as we get new videos coming in. We'll be sending them out to you so you can watch them. At a minimum, you're watching your videos full through so you can pick up on all the ideas that we're doing here, all the techniques, the methods, the colors of paint we use, the brushes we're using, the methods of how we create our paintings. It's not always the same. So if you're watching each video full through, you will get a lot of information, and it'll translate into better paintings for you, I believe. So that's the main thing here. I want to see everyone getting their paintings going and looking beautiful, and you'll be happier, and it'll get you more excited to keep painting and having a good time. Okay, all right, so let's come right back in just a few minutes, and we'll finish up this gorgeous flower painting. Okay. All right, welcome back. Here we are. We're finishing up our painting, and it's really exciting because when we're right to the last few moments of finishing up this painting, that's the fun time, because we kind of just know the hardest work is now complete. We're good. We just have to, get in those final little washes here and there and a couple details, and we'll be good. So at this point, I'm going to take my phone. I guess I'm going to leave it here. I'll leave my phone here. I think I can work with my phone there. So I think the first thing we'll do is let's do the drapes behind the floral arrangement here. I'm going to change out the water. So I would like to have fresh, clean water now to mix up some blue and purple for the drapes. Maybe a little bit of other colors in there too as well. So we'll leave this like this. These colors will work nice with some cerulean blue and purple, ultramarine violet. And then what we're going to do is just try to get some drape, feeling of some drapes, which is just kind of dragging the brush across on an angle like this. The only thing with that is you have to be careful. Lift that up over the flowers. And I'll do another like that. Like that there. Over here, just the suggestion of the drapes is fine, because you have all these details of the flowers. No sense in trying to just go over the whole thing. Put some more water on there. Like like that. A couple of splashes. Then cobalt blue, maybe a little bit of cobalt blue. And that's where I was saying, I wanted to put some wash on that, on the vase. I think that looks good. Okay. And a little bit of cerulean over here, just to kind of highlight the coffee cup over there. And maybe the same thing over here. Let's add a little bit of cerulean blue over here so that we don't, I'd like to keep the painting so that there's some interesting things here and there. And we used a lot of yellow. Let's put some yellow there. And some yellow there. So I'm just trying to balance the painting, add some okay, everything looks good. The drapes are fine. We can add in again a little bit of very, very fine little bit of yellow wash, barely visible, just clean fresh water with a little hint of some cadmium lemon yellow, some cad yellow, raw sienna, just to put some in the drapes. So again, the whole painting is going to kind of just blend and flow together, and it's barely visible. You might not see that on the camera. I'm not sure. Yeah, I can see it on the camera, on my video camera I'm using, so I'm thinking you can see that too. And I think once we put the branches and stems in, everything will just tie all together perfectly. So let's let this dry just a few minutes here as we go. Yeah, this is actually a perfect time to take another break. I would normally work a little more, because we just started this back probably just 5 minutes ago or so. But the only thing is, we have to let this dry 100% where the drapes are, and the light washes of lemon, cadmium lemon yellow, and cad yellow that we just put onto the white areas. We have to let that dry 100% before we try to do our stems and things. So I'll mix up a little bit of our stem color here while we're going to wait. We'll take French ultramarine blue as well, some sap green. Okay, that looks pretty good. And let's see. Okay, yeah, we have to definitely let this dry 100%. It would be kind of counterproductive to start going in and doing the stems and the small forms here, these small twigs and stems. If we went in there now, it could wind up bleeding and blossoming out and cauliflowering out into the wash that we did on the paper here on the background where the drapes are. So to avoid that, let's let this dry. So we'll take another quick break, and then we'll come right back. Once this is 100% dry, then I'll paint in those stems, and that'll be pretty much it. We'll be all complete 100%. Okay, so we're back now, and we're going to actually finish up here. We're going to do our final touches of details here. We're going to do sap green, burnt umber, burnt sienna, get a nice dark in there. And I use the tissues here to dry off the brush a little bit sometimes, just to make sure that it's, and then I just do a couple stems here and there. That's it. And you just want to keep them very light, very loose, very free. I'm not looking at the photograph. I'm just kind of using the pencil lines that we had there originally. So in our contour drawing, we did pencil line in those. And you can see I'm taking my brush and holding it about halfway up on the handle. And that's how we get our nice, free looking, again, I dried off that brush a little bit, the paint off the brush a little bit, so there's not too much water on that brush and paint. Okay, there we go. And if we just add a couple here and there, and a few in here too. That's good enough. I wouldn't go too many, just a few here and there. That looks fine. And yeah, that looks excellent. So we can see here that we kept this very light, very free. We didn't do too many details, you know, when we were painting in our flowers. You know, you could go in with a little more burnt umber, burnt sienna, French ultramarine blue to get a really, really nice dark. And you can dry off some of that on the tissue just so you don't have too much paint on your needlepoint brush. And you could go in and you could maybe get a few pointy shapes of where these radiating forms are, just to kind of maybe to make them, you know, stand out a little more, so that you can kind of see that there is some I think just a few of those is fine. You can get maybe a couple of some small maybe leaf forms. But again, I would not go in and go back in and do too much here. You know, a little bit, maybe a couple little pointy leaf forms, because now we're using a needlepoint brush, which has a great point, a very sharp point on it. So you can get some of those real super fine details. Sometimes our round brushes don't always have that really fine point on them. So if we go back in and do just a few, that looks pretty good. And I just added a little bit of a shadow there on this side here. But I think you're going to have a wonderful time with this, and I hope you've painted along with us. And if you've just watched it full through, that's the best thing, is to maybe watch it one time full through, then go back and start working on it step by step as we went through the video. And you can pause as you need to. And or if you want to break it down into a couple days or even a week, you could take, you know, a couple sections. You could do maybe one section a day, so that maybe, you know, the first day you're doing your layout and your preliminary sketch. Second day you might do your contour drawing. Third day you come back and you start working in your washes, and then you take your time and you work through it. The main thing is simplify as much as you can. Maybe I did too many details here. I don't think so, but maybe you like less details. That's fine. We all have our own ways that we like to see our paintings turn out, and the way we want to see them kind of finish up. So sometimes I might add a couple extra details, but then I just stop at that point. Some people might like a few more details than this, or maybe want to add a few more things on the table. You can adjust your painting the way you want it to look. But if you just stick with the same basic design that we have here, I think you'll be really happy, and you'll actually have a good time of this. This is really pretty straightforward. We just stuck with our photograph here and just, again, simplified, and we didn't get too worried about capturing every detail of this, just the overall idea of it. You can kind of see there's more things that I did. Well, there's things that I did different here. I simplified things a little more. And again, I hope you'll do the same thing too. I hope you'll simplify this, have a good time with it, enjoy painting it. Lots of beautiful colors, gorgeous gold and yellow colors for your flowers, the beautiful drapes, the purples and the blues, the table, the nice round table here with the coffee cup, and the nice vase, the glass vase with the light blue glass there. So I hope you have fun with this again and enjoy. Please leave comments in the comment section if you have any questions, and we'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching.